Good morning, my name is Davina, and this morning for the presentation I'll be touching on our check-in process. So the patient check-in is very important because this will be the patient's first face-to-face contact with us. It is vital to make a great first impression on the patient upon their arrival. The quality of treatment by the provider may be the utmost important to the patient, but so are the initial and subsequent interactions with the staff. So in our office, we see patients for various reasons, but let's take a look at the basic check-in process for a new patient. As you can see on the screen, our check-in process is a patient is greeted, patient signs in or approaches the desk to be checked in, patient is given paperwork or verifies face sheet and demographics. If the patient is here for a medical visit, they verify their insurance at that point and also submit a copay. Patient is then asked to take a profile picture and then is directed to the waiting area where there are beverages, magazines, before and after photos while they wait to be called back. Within these areas of the check-in process lay some of our greatest strengths, areas in which we can improve, and opportunities for growth. So let's take a look at some of our strengths. One of our most prominent strengths is a friendly greeting, and not just a friendly greeting, but a greeting by a familiar face. You may think a friendly greeting should be a given, but this could not be further from the truth, as I'm sure some of us may have experienced before. When patients walk through our front door, they expect to see Becky, and if she's not sitting at her desk, you better believe they'll be asking where she is. Patients appreciate the longevity of staff, and with longevity comes knowledge of providers, scheduling, products, and treatments. Another strength in our office is having more than one person who is able to check in patients. Before we officially merged companies, patients developed a sort of system where RMLA patients took it upon themselves to check in with Blanca's side and RFA patients with Becky. It may have worked out for that purpose, but it also is beneficial for patients who simply just want to check in without having to wait for their side to be available. Speaking of waiting, let's be honest. It's pretty difficult not to make a first impression based on what a doctor's office looks like. The arrangements of seats, are you sitting toe-to-toe with another patient, hoping you'll be called next? What kind of reading material is offered? Is it up to date? What's playing on the television? Is there a television? But here at our office, we have plenty of open space, so you're not having to stare at someone while waiting to be called back. We have a complimentary coffee and tea bar. Everywhere you look is a reminder of the great work our providers offer with before and after photos. Oh, and did I mention the free chapstick? Who doesn't love free anything? But more on the waiting area to come. But just as every office has its strengths, there is always room for improvement and growth. Honestly, I believe the area we can grow in the most is the congestion and oftentimes chaos at the front desk. Sometimes some of our strengths can also double as a weakness, such as having Becky and Blanca both doing check-in and check-out. Anywhere you go, patients are used to having a clearly defined patient destination. They know exactly where to go to check in versus where to check out. As we've heard before, and we'll probably hear again, there's a lot that goes on at the front desk. Becky and Blanca are juggling check-in, check-out, phones ringing, scheduling, pricing products, and the list goes on. And though those duties may not change, it can often give way for error. It leaves our patients having to wait for an opportunity to check in, to update paperwork, to scan insurance, to take a profile picture, and ultimately to be called back to see the provider. The check-in process sets the flow for the remainder of the visit. While all of this is taking place, we cannot forget the importance of patient privacy. Without a clear point of contact for check-in, patients are left rubbing elbows with the patient before them who may be checking out or discussing financial matters, which can create uncomfortable situations and may even violate HIPAA regulations. With congestion, patients are left to sign in where their full name is exposed if someone isn't readily available to check them in. So, how do we turn our room for improvement areas into strengths? I believe first, we have to create a clear point of contact for check-in. This will set the pace for an overall smooth transition for the next point of contact. Next, we have an amazing tool in IMS called the check-in, check-out screen, available for every provider. This screen updates in real time the moment a patient is checked in and allows providers to see where the patient is in the check-in process. Filling out paperwork, numbing, ready for an MA, ready for pictures, ready for checkout, etc. By putting the screen into practice, we would be able to alleviate some of the congestion at the front desk. Waiting at the doctor's office is inevitable. However, if emailing patient forms immediately after hanging up with a new consult, this would cut back on some of the waiting time for patients. This, of course, falls on the patient, but anything we can do to help them along the process benefits both of us. During those same phone calls with new consults, we can also alert them that check-in time could take up to 15 minutes, which might ensure an early arrival. Finally, in order to protect our practice, it is essential to purchase sign-in sheets with removable strips. This not only protects a patient's identity, but also our practice. These goals are simple, achievable, and can be done in a realistic time frame. Change doesn't take place overnight, but by being aware of how we can improve as a team, we are then able to take the steps necessary to move in that same direction.